We gather this afternoon to remember and honor the life of Nancy Grannis, daughter of the late Betty Marcus Sunshine and E. Robert Marcus, both of blessed memory. Nancy's devoted family are here today, and we share our love and support with each one of them. Her husband, Alan, her children, Emily and her husband, Jeremy, Andrew and his wife, Kelly, beloved sister, Patty, and brother, Richard, and his wife, Jane, cherished grandchildren, Kendall, Grady, Hannah, and Abby, and her many beloved nieces, nephews, and cousins. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to sit at Nancy and Alan's kitchen table, surrounded by family photos, toys from the grandkids, and art projects made for her as gifts. We sat at a table where so many meals have been shared and so many stories heard. In conversation with Nancy's loved ones yesterday, one theme emerged strongly, which was that Nancy Grannis cherished being in relationship with every single one of you. Her cousins near and far, her family members, her friends who became like family, everyone feeling included, interwoven, and appreciated. And I know it means so much to Nancy's family that you're here in person or joining us online. We'll begin our service this afternoon with a recitation of poetry and psalms, weaving Nancy's life into the tapestry of Jewish time, connecting with our people's traditions in memory and in love. God, you who heal the brokenhearted and bind up their wounds, grant comfort and consolation to these mourners as they face their grief. Fill their lives with the acts of loving kindness and truth, which serve as the genuine memorial to our dear Nancy. The deep bond of love will remain unbroken. Kohelet, Ecclesiastes, wrote this: "The eye never has its fill of seeing. Young or old, those who depart this life never see enough of the world, never complete their task, never cherish their loved ones enough before they are called home. How they yearned for yet another respite from the final summons, and how we yearn to have them close to us for yet another challenge in our lives, yet another joy, yet another precious moment together. God, be now with those whose hearts are broken, because whenever parting comes, it comes too soon. Console them at this moment. Be near to them when light seems distant. Sustain them, O God, until the time of healing." Our rabbis taught that there are three crowns: the crown of Torah, the crown of priesthood, and the crown of royalty. But they emphasized that the crown of a good name exceeds them all. In the book of Ecclesiastes, we read, "Tov shem mishemen tov." A good name is to be treasured among fine oil. Wealth, health, and even life passes away, but a good name lives forever. It is in this view that the Talmud teaches monuments need not be erected for the righteous. Their deeds are their memorials. They will be remembered and revered for the kindness they have shown and for the love they have given. They are shining examples of what it means to be a mensch. As I was preparing for today, I found a poem in our High Holiday Machzor for Rosh Hashanah by Barbara Cooker, which I'll share now, called "In the Middle." In the middle of a life that's as complicated as everyone else's, struggling for balance, juggling time. The mantle clock that was my grandfather's has stopped at 9:20. We haven't had time to get it repaired. The brass pendulum is still. The chimes don't ring. One day I look out the window, green summer. The next, the leaves have already fallen, and a gray sky lowers the horizon. Our children almost grown, our parents gone. It happened so fast. Each day we must learn again how to love, between morning's quick coffee and evening's slow return. Steam from a pot of soup rises, mixing with the yeasty smell of baking bread. Our bodies twine, and the big black dog pushes his great head between, his tail a metronome, 3/4 time. We'll never get there. Time is always ahead of us, running down the beach, urging us on, faster, faster. But sometimes we take off our watches. Sometimes we lie in the hammock, caught between the mesh of rope and the net of stars, suspended, tangled up in love, running out of time. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men who wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give to me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved, and if you cannot give me away, at least let me live on in your eyes and not your mind. You can love me most by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies, and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away.
Psalm 23. Adonai roi lo echsar binot dasher bitzeni alamei menuchot alamei menuchot Inaleini nafshi shovev shovev yancheini b'maglei tzedek Yanacheini b'maglei tzedek leman shemo. Gam ki eilech begeitz al mavet lo Ki ati madi shiftecha umishantecha hemaina chamuni taharoch lefanai Shulchan neged tzorerai dishanta vashem roshi kosi revaya Ach tov v'chesed irdefuni kol yemei chayai v'shavti beveit Adonai leorach Yamim Adonai roi lo echsar Adonai roi lo echsar. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me to lie down in green pastures. God leads me beside the still waters. God restores my soul. God guides me in straight paths for God's name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you art with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of Adonai forever.
A poem about our sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination, and life is a journey from childhood to maturity, from youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength or strength to weakness, and often back again, from health to sickness, and back we pray to health again, from offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, pain to compassion, and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until, looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination, and life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage to life everlasting. These words from Psalm 121. Esa einai el harim, me'ayin yavo Ezri, me'im Adonai osei shamayim va'aretz, Al yitain lamot raglecha, al yanum shomrecha, hine lo yanum velo yishan shomer Yisrael. Adonai shomrecha, Adonai tzilcha, al yad yaminecha, Yomam hashemesh lo yakeka, ve'yareach balayla. Adonai yishmorcha mikol ra, yishmor et nafshecha, Adonai yishmor tzeitcha uvoecha, me'ata ve'ad olam. A song of ascents. I turn my eyes to the mountains. From where will my help come? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your guardian will not slumber. See, the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. Adonai is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. Adonai will guard you from all harm. God will guard your life. Adonai will guard your going and coming, now and forever.
El Harachaman, sweet God, source of compassion, you've taken a beloved one from us. We gather today and raise our voices to a source of life. We ask for comfort and strength and the power to move on. Nancy's love united us in her life, and death cannot sever that. Her companionship remains. It continues for the tenderness of memory. Her happiness should and shall be a precious remembrance to us. In this time of grief, we listen to the voice of our sacred scriptures, many of which have been chanted and read, bringing us the message that nearness and kindness and presence are what helps us pass through these times. Psalm 15 reads, Adonai mi agur ba'ohalecha mi ishkon b'har kodshecha. Adonai, who may abide in your house, who dwell in your mountain. Those who are upright, who do justly, who speak the truth in their hearts, who do not slander others or wrong them or shame them, who scorn the lawless and honor those who revere what is faithful, who give their word and come what may, do not retract, who do not exploit others, who never take bribes. Those who live in this way, the way Nancy Grannis lived, They shall never, ever be shaken. Amen. Dear friends, my name is Rob Nosenchuk. I'm a friend of Abby and Hannah Spivak. Yes, I am proud to be part of the constellation of adults in the Spivak children's lives. But I'm not here today only as their friend or as a rabbi from Mishkan Or, and before that Anshe Chesed. Today I've come as a grateful Shaker School's parent. My oldest is a student of Mrs. Grannis. You all know that Nancy's been retired for some time, yet I use the present tense advisedly. He is still learning from her. I know this because we've discussed it regularly, and because of the determination he has to hold on to his integrity even while tested by environments that strain such virtues. This is something he needs every day in his career. But Zachary first described his values in Mrs. Grannis's fifth grade classroom. There, the topics of contentment, compassion. They had a living exemplar, a person of integrity, standing before the students as a model. Now, my kid is also a former leader at the Shakerite newspaper, so he's got a fair amount of Emily Grannis in him. But my Zachary and Nancy's Emily are also each the oldest child. They've each grown, going to the same schools and the same temples, where each of them thought it was fairly cool that Mrs. Grannis's sister Patty is kind of a big shot. Also, since we met 16 years ago, my kids and Mrs. Grannis's kids have both sought to be fueled by the great goodness and joy that life has bestowed upon them and their loved ones. Our families have each faced obstacles thrown at us by the same disease. And while protecting and cherishing your loved ones who are experiencing physical weakness, some due to age, and others just due to the cruelty and unfairness of progressive illness that has met us too young. But when I met Nancy Grannis, I didn't have any of that perspective, and I'd never been a fifth grade parent before. I had only a month earlier moved to Cleveland for a job that was kind of a long shot. But because she was my child's fifth grade teacher, I discovered the crucial partnership needed at such a tender age between parents and educators. It is possibly the most powerful force shaping how kids learn, find purpose, and build trust. Now, Mrs. Grannis had a lot of students in her classroom, but all of us, the parents, marveled at how quickly Nancy became an expert on how each individual child processes material, what sparks their curiosity, what makes them shine, and what makes them concerned or afraid. When an instructor is as good as Nancy Grannis at figuring out how different people learn, what manifests is a positive outlook about the world we inhabit. From such teachers, we get not just curated content, we learn that learning matters, not just to us or to our parents, but to other trusted and caring people counting on us to be educated in this world. I have a picture on this phone that I'm speaking from. The picture is of a fragile, glue-stick-together original piece of fifth grade art that has been on the side of my refrigerator for 16 years. It's just not exactly in good enough shape to bring here on a day with such miserable weather. 16 years ago, Mrs. Grannis took her students to visit an art exhibit to see how the artist described their intent. The students then were directed to develop their own art and create a special placard that convey its meaning. Zachary's placard says that my art shows a person who is rich walking into a palace, but I've placed a slash over the palace to symbolize that the person is not rich with money. They are rich with happiness. I thought of this because I have learned and remembered some people do not have things that we have. Mrs. Grannis, Zachary remembered that people don't all have what we have because you taught him that. It was your belief that to be rich is to be rich with happiness and satisfaction. Thank you, Mrs. Grannis. One of those core principles that you held is consistent with the teachings of the ancient rabbis who conveyed in the Talmud, Ezehu Ashir, who is truly rich, Hasameach B'chelko, the one who is content with their portion. Because he knows Mrs. Grannis, my son will keep remembering that. Because she knows him, I have the special blessing to share life over the last many years with you, Nancy and Alan, and to see each of you give and receive grace, patience, attention, encouragement, and hope to the people in your lives. And because Nancy and I have been together for so many major days, with your grandkids, your siblings, your cousins, your friends, your nieces and nephews, we've all weathered life's harshest winds with strength. But we've also gone forward to enjoy some of the most uplifting times in Nancy's adult life. Because we became connected and close, I got to be a rabbi to her. And so I know that she spiritually lived a life of great honor in Judaism. This person exemplifies the idea that you do what you are. You do what you are. She was a born teacher and inquisitive learner, and she'll never stop being that. About 10 days ago, I visited with Nancy. She greeted me at the door on Sherwood Court. I wasn't 3 steps in when she took my coat, sat me down, and started telling me what I was supposed to do. You all know the tone of voice that Nancy was using when she was making sure you remembered her guidance and was not going to put up with any of your shenanigans. Before I went over to the Grannis home, I let Rabbi Mobam and the other clergy know, because it was my impression that the visit was going to my agenda. Nope. In her kitchen, I learned that Nancy had a lesson prepared. She interrupted my queries about her own well-being, giving that only polite but scarce attention. Before I could take a challah that my wife had baked out of my bag, Mrs. Grannis said, "Stop. First things first. Tell me what's happening with your children." She listened carefully and used some of that morning's few remaining energies to allow her beautiful smile to alight her face. She loved kids. She certainly loved my kids and her kids. Yes, Andrew and Emily, but in this case, I think you know I mean grandkids, who she loved having the chance together with Alan to see flourish. Kendall, Grady, Abby, and Hannah, you have given your grandma such strength and happiness. A couple of years ago, Nancy called me after a meeting with the oncology team that we shared. Nancy had been told that day that it was most likely that when she would die, it would be the metastasis that prevailed. She could and would fight to get more time, but she would not receive a remission. Her voice quivered, but only for a moment, because she had business. She wanted to know more from me about the palliative and integrative services I'd received in Cleveland. She told me, "I don't want just more time. I want more time to think clearly and act decisively." And so she did. At her kitchen table 10 or 11 days ago, Mrs. Grannis was absolutely clear. With illness getting in the way of basic faculties, her appetite diminished, her ability to manage the door lock tested. With all that, to paraphrase the psalm that Cantor Lappin sang, Nancy was in the valley of shadows, unafraid. Unafraid. She conveyed precise instructions and the tenderness that she felt that she and Alan have received from other caregivers. As much as Nancy Marcus Grannis could trust anyone to do something that she wanted done her way, Nancy trusts her children Andrew and Emily to carry on. I count it as a blessing to have shared joyful Grannis and English milestones with Nancy, and also to have seen such joy in the hearts of people who have died before her, including her brother-in-law David, his brother Alan, her mom Betty, her brother-in-law George on Alan's side. Nancy and I have had our share of frank conversations about what enriches life, what is fair and what is not, and what our faith says to do after people you love die. But I wasn't there to give that homework. She had the gravity of intentions on her mind, and even that I've recently retired, Nancy gave me a final homework assignment. She told me I was supposed to look after her sister Patty. Seriously. I am supposed to keep an eye on her sister Patty and help her, as if anyone has ever been able to look after Patty or give instructions to the most independent-minded, driven, competent, accomplished, and badass of people as Patty, who burst into the world a few decades back to become Nancy's kid sister, which she will remain always. So Patty, when I nudge you relentlessly in the years ahead, I'm helping Mrs. Grannis. She knew that carrying on the traits and values of people who have died, like in the reading Rabbi Mulbam shared, it's not a one-and-done lesson. She also knew it was a lesson with legs because it's all we need to do. And so let me conclude with a single lesson in her honor. In the medieval age, when I began my remarks, there were commentaries and codes written to elucidate the recorded conversations and arguments of the ancient rabbis with tangible action. The question was asked, what in Jewish tradition do we do to demonstrate that a person who has died was a great teacher? There were ethical instructions for those losses and practices of mourning, including some of the specific prayers that we have shared. But the distinction of mourning for a profound teacher in Judaism goes as follows. When we next enter a house of study, a classroom, an auditorium, a chapel, a sanctuary, or even a virtual learning space, those who sit on the north side naturally are taught to move to the south side. And those who normally sit on the south side move to the north, and so forth in each direction. This act of changing one's typical seat demonstrates a quiet, dignified, but nevertheless outward expression of grief and respect. We all know what it is like when life disrupts our comfort zones, places we habitually find ourselves, the same rows and corners we delight in. Judaism says when a person teaches you and impacts your life, brings meaningful convictions to your heart, move. Go forward. Leave this place and leave it with the feeling that you now inhabit behind you. Move to a new place. Get a new groove. I'm holding that lesson close to my heart today as the parent of one of Nancy's students. As a friend of hers, someone privileged to receive homework from her. Because of her life, we've been moved. Because of her grace, we have held on as long as we have. But we must keep on moving and keep on gathering perspective. I know we can do this. So did Nancy. Let's do it. Amen.
We'll have a chance now to hear some of Nancy's own words shared with us by her son, Andrew.
I'm Andrew, her son. That's me. You'll find that my mom was pretty consistent, but these are her words that we thought she wanted everybody here to listen to. Maybe another lesson. Let's get the morbid stuff out of the way. If you're here, then you agree with me that this sucks. I'm not pleased to not be here. Still holding out some hope that I'll be connected somehow and be able to show you. I feel robbed of the years I expected to enjoy life and celebrate joyful milestones. But I also have a sense that this is the price I had to pay for having had such a charmed, rich life. Honestly, I did. Wouldn't change a thing, even the rough times, because I ended up with such sweetness. Here's how. My husband, my loving and devoted husband who made me what I most wanted to be, a wife and mother, and provided all that I needed or could have ever wanted. You were my rock and anchor. Even when I showed you the worst I could be, you just loved me. You were angry and frustrated plenty, but at the heart of our marriage, you just loved me. There's no measuring the strength that gave me. My family. Oh my goodness, what a family I am part of. You are the stalwarts who provided love and support throughout my life. And during these last trying times, man, did you come through. Infinite meals, constant checking in, getting errands done, notes and cards, emails and texts. You were always present, showing me that I was on your minds. What a boost that was. Over the top. Of course, we were all raised by the best, and we have all raised the best. My heart swells to think of our loving traditions being carried on by the next generations. My children, 4 of the kindest, most accomplished, and fun to be with people you'll ever know. They all inspire me, maybe most by how comfortable they are in their own skins. They accept themselves, thus are accepting of others, and they are raising their kids just so. Can you imagine a world in which everyone did that? My grandchildren, the eternal flames of my life. Selfishly, I hope that any memory you have of me translates to love. That is all I have for you, pure and simple. You are already kind and thoughtful. You are in the most capable hands and will develop pairs of your own, I have no doubt. Let your beautiful personalities and characters shine and thrive. They will all be powerful sources of good in this world. My friends, my family beyond blood. Support doesn't really capture what you have been for me through my life. I guess I could say, there. You have been there for me. And in these last brutal times, you have been a presence even from long distance. Checking in, doing errands, sending food, sharing wisdom, nagging, you know who you are, always there. Mentioning wisdom makes me think of all the bad choices we made over the years and how we helped each other overcome them. Listen up, you youngsters out there. Are all you Rogowskis envisioning Aunt Eva with her pointer wagging? Your elders have true wisdom to impart. Listen up. The caregivers. Alan's diligent, kind, wonderful caregivers. You know very well how much I relied on you, and you came through every time. I'm so grateful for your presence in our lives. And I guess that's it. I know I can't have the last word here, but I can share the last word on my lips, my heart, and my mind. Love.
To be loved by Nancy Grannis was to be loved deeply. Patty, as you put it, Nancy loved as fully as humanly possible, fiercely and without reserve, not without judgment. She was clear-eyed about everything. She loved by accepting, not by ignoring. She loved exactly who you are. If you were in her orbit of love, you were in a safe place, because that love could not be diminished by anything. Patty, you shared with me that the two of you shared a bedroom for the first 16 years of your life. As her younger sister, you knew Nancy the longest, having a particularly close bond as sisters, deeply entrenched in that unique way. As your older sister, Nancy was someone who you may have fought with behind closed doors, but in public, she always came to defend you. Even though you had such different personality traits, something about it just worked. As your sister, you see that word sister as the most overwhelming and powerful label for Nancy's place in everything that has made your life good. In your idyllic Leave It to Beaver household growing up, you, Nancy, and Richard got to see something precious every single day. You never doubted how much your parents loved each other, and you were raised in a loving home environment. You all demonstrated that to your own kids, and Emily, you said to me recently, you never doubted for a second the love your own parents share. Nancy took that loving environment she was raised in and she passed it down to the next generation, and Emily and Andrew have already done the same with their own families, cherishing family dinners just like the ones that you all grew up with. She was a teen in the age of the flower child, and despite being petite, neat, and disciplined, she was a rebel. She traveled, she experimented, and she behaved in such a way that her younger siblings were able to fly under the radar. Nancy spent a lifetime ensuring closeness among the extended family, impressing the family members who joined by marriage with her dedication to keeping in close contact with what, to an outsider, might seem like very distant cousins. Emily, you shared that when you asked her what she wanted to be when she was a kid, she told you she wanted to be a mom, and she became the mom that you want to be. A trusted confidant, a loving person who would tell you true advice, giving the real answer to any question. Patty, you said that Nancy dealt in truth. She saw it like it was, heard it like it was, and told it like it was, which made her the perfect sounding board. You didn't get what you wanted to hear. You got what you needed to hear. Emily, she was one of your favorite people in the world to talk to, an incredible role model for what good parenting can look like, and an exemplar of unconditional love for her family. Nancy also helped the people around her think more expansively. Kelly, you shared that when you entered into the family as a teenager, you were a pretty picky eater, but that under Nancy's guidance and cooking, your culinary tastes have expanded. She helped her kids, Emily and Andrew, see the world as she and Alan gave the kids a choice between a bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah party or a trip, and they celebrated milestones with impactful visits to Brazil and Europe. Richard, you shared reflections about Nancy and Alan's early days and how she saw Alan as the thing that changed absolutely everything for her for the better. You said Alan gave her everything she wanted. He gave her happiness, he gave her love, and he tried to give her a dog. But because Nancy was driven and because she knew what she wanted, she negotiated. He could get a dog if they could have kids. So Alan, you countered and said, let's do this the old-fashioned way, and you got married and welcomed Emily into the family, and Jackson the dog became a Grannis. Jackson, who apparently hated Andrew and Nancy, was the first dog of the family. And Kelly, I love that you described Nancy as a closet dog person. Belle, the next dog, seemed to be a better fit. Alan, Nancy knew just what she was looking for when she picked you. You met at work when Nancy was doing some PR for where you were working at the time. Public relations was a second career interlude. Nancy, as you've heard, was trained as a teacher, and she taught for 5 years as a single woman who realized pretty quickly that she was unlikely to meet a husband in her career field. So she entered the private sector, met you, Alan, and even started her own PR company, which she named after her dad's World War II naval destroyer, the USS Wedderburn. After several years in that field, she re-entered teaching, the career she loved, when Emily was in middle school. As a reading teacher at Lomond and then a 5th grade teacher at Woodbury, Mrs. Grannis wasn't just a person teaching skills and concepts. She was that special kind of elementary teacher who made a lasting impact, helping her students come to learn who they are in the world. I can only imagine how many students in her 20-year career as an elementary school teacher she was able to impact. She worked incredibly hard inside the classroom and out of school, reaching her students, grading papers, and thoughtfully planning. She took that incredible work ethic and applied it to everything she did, including her volunteerism and advocacy work. In her more recent years, Nancy was a superhero volunteer at In Motion. And Kelly, you mentioned she was also incredibly thorough in her research on her own diagnosis and an advocate in her own treatment plan as well. She was responsible, organized, and dependable. When she knew she had a job to do, she did it, even if it was hard, even if it was the last thing she wanted to do. Her matter-of-fact approach to everything meant that she did the job, she did it thoroughly, no matter what. Andrew, you shared some stories about your parents' early years. Lots of great meals out at Cedar Lee, with Saturday date nights becoming an important sacred time for them, another tradition of a happy marriage that they passed down to the next generation. They often went to Browns games, cheering enthusiastically. Jacqueline, as you put it, though she wasn't born in Cleveland, Cleveland truly became home for her from an early age. Following her parents' footsteps, she became a passionate fan of all Cleveland sports. And as was her spirit throughout her life, even in the downtimes, she never lost her passion or her fandom. It takes a certain kind of strength and spiritual fortitude to be a Cleveland Browns fan, and Nancy had that strength in abundance. Andrew, you talked about some of your earliest memories being waking up in the morning and finding your mom exercising in the basement, flexing her biceps, doing Tae-Bo or step aerobics videos. She didn't exercise out of vanity, but because physical strength felt important to her. She was empowered and empowering. She encouraged her kids to be who they are. Andrew, you said she told you could do anything and go anywhere, and you believed her then and continue to believe her now. Because she's a mom, she did have certain restrictions, like you couldn't ride a motorcycle or move all the way to California. But she did basically mean you could do anything. Her strength was also incredibly important for her in these last few years. Patty, as you put it, nothing stopped her. In these last years, even when the treatment protocols robbed her of comfort and hollowed out her joy, she soldiered on through the next scan, the next treatment. She did everything in her power to spend as many days on this earth with the people she loved as possible. She wore a bracelet that said Strong AF as a kind of touchstone throughout her treatment, a reminder to her of the resilience and grit she had inside. She was an incredible example of when strength and softness combine. Kelly and Jeremy, as her kids-in-law, in some ways you had a special relationship with her, though in most ways it sounds like you were actually just two more of her kids, and that is, of course, the special relationship. Kelly, you said when you'd come home from college, you'd go and visit with Nancy and Alan, even if Andrew wasn't home, because they've always been like a second set of parents to you, and she loved you guys like one of her own. Jeremy, you talked about how she integrated you so quickly into the family, and you were so impressed by how she made a large family feel so tightly knit. Her genuine interest in the lives of her loved ones, her communication style, and her ability to share love were consistent across every relationship in her life. And I would be remiss if I didn't highlight the important relationships she had with her friends who became like family. I know the girls, her best friends from American University, are joining us on live stream today, having been in town recently to make their farewell visits. They're the friends we all want. Your annual reunions and shared travel, your weekly FaceTimes, your sharing of life with deep honesty and vulnerability meant the world to Nancy and her family. Alan, it is clear that you have been a deeply positive force in her life, a partner in parenting, a beloved husband every day of your marriage. You brought her joy and helped her make her dreams of being a parent come true, and you shared in the blessings of grandparenthood together. Your 4 darling grandchildren, Hannah, Abby, Kendall, and Grady, each got to have special time with you and Nancy as you served as grandparent daycare for each of the 4 babies. She loved library story time and taking the kids to see the ducks at the pond. She had a special kind of shredded cheese she would give the kids, which the kids called Graham cheese, which is Jarlsberg. The kids loved to cook and bake with her, and they even liked a special concoction Graham would make for them, a quesadilla with black beans, pizza sauce, and cheese. Maybe you'll have it later. She wrote a song for each of her beloved grandchildren when they were born, and they would call her Shopper Girl because she would buy them absolutely anything they wanted. I got to see some of Hannah and Abby's memories with Graham, and here's what I learned from them. They loved going to Graham School. They loved cooking with her and baking with her, reading with her and eating her delicious meals. They loved doing puzzles with her, and they loved that she would joke a lot. Nancy was so proud of and gratified by her amazing family. Patty, as you said it, she had a good life. She wanted more time, but the time that she had was spectacular. You also shared that if there was a dance floor, Nancy was the first one on and the last one off. And Jacqueline, you shared that her infectious energy is what she will be most remembered for and will continue to be an inspiration for all who remember her. When we were together yesterday, I got to see a picture of Nancy at Emily and Jeremy's wedding. Dressed in this beautiful beaded dress, her arm is raised up in absolute bliss as a smile consumes every piece of her face and her body. Her joy was deep, unbridled, and contagious. We're taught that in the month of Adar, the Jewish month that we're currently in, our joy should increase. Nancy died on Purim, a day known for frivolity and joy. It feels impossibly poignant to be saying farewell to someone whose joy was so radiant at this particular moment in the Jewish year. Purim, we're taught, is a day when sorrow becomes joy, danger becomes safety, and despair becomes celebration. In the book of Esther, we read the phrase, "Vanahafochu," everything was overturned, turned upside down. Today, we feel that sense of upheaval in the hardest way. A season that is meant for laughter and joy instead becomes a time of grief and mourning. The story of Purim reminds us of the power that is hidden in the ordinary days of life, the acts of courage, devotion, and love that quietly change the world. That is the kind of life we remember as we consider how Nancy lived and how Nancy died. Of course she wanted more time, more years to spend with the people she loved so deeply. She poured herself into her family, the center of her heart, the great joy of her life. She poured herself into generations of children, her students. She shaped their curiosity and confidence, teaching them by example how to be kind and good. The adults who once sat in her classroom carry pieces of her into the world, sparks of her light and joy and strength that continue to radiate. The ripples of Nancy's life are everywhere we look. Purim reminds us that sometimes the deepest truths are hidden beneath the surface of the story. God's name doesn't appear in the book of Esther, but we can read the presence of something guiding the unfolding of events. In the same way, the truest measure of our lives is not in our grandest moments, but in our devotion and care, love given day after day after day. And so even on this day that is upside down, a day when joy has turned to grief, we hold fast to the idea that love doesn't disappear, that the goodness a person plants in the world only continues to grow. May the memory of Nancy's spectacular life be a blessing. May the love she gave continue to ripple through her family, her students, and all who knew her. And may her life, her joy, her companionship, her ferocious love continue to be an inspiration to dance and a source of light to us all. Zichrona livracha, may Nancy's memory be for an enduring blessing. Amen. As we move towards the conclusion of our service here in this space, I have a few announcements. Following the conclusion of our service here, we will accompany Nancy to her final resting place at Mayfield Cemetery. Nancy's loved ones are observing Shiva at the Spivak home, 32700 Shadowbrook Drive in Solon, from today after the burial until 6, from 4 to 6, and from 7 to 9. Tomorrow, Friday, from 2 to 4, and on March 6th, that's tomorrow, and on Sunday from 2 to 5 and 7 to 9. In lieu of flowers, donations can be made to the Grannis Family Pals Fund at In Motion. In a moment, we'll prepare to recite the words of El Malei Rachamim, or God full of mercy. In this memorial prayer, we ask that the soul of our loved one, Nancy Grannis, enter into eternity and find peaceful rest. This prayer invokes the image of our loved ones being carried under the wings of God's presence. That loving, protective presence will, God willing, accompany Nancy's soul to a state of perfect peace. Please rise if you're able. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hamitzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei HaShechina, עם קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים. את נשמת אסני חווה בת מנדל ראובן ובאשה, שהלכה לעולמה. בעל הרחמים יסתירה, בסתר כנפיו לעולמים. ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתה, אדוני הוא נחלתה. ותנוח בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר Amen. God of abundant mercy, God most high, may the soul of our loved one, Nancy Grannis, who has gone into eternity, find the gift of perfect peace in your embrace, together with the holy and pure, whose light shines like the radiance of heaven. Compassionate God, hold Nancy close to you forever, so that her soul may be bound up in the bond of life eternal. May she find a home with you, and may she rest in peace. And together we say, Amen.